You're probably not gonna believe me, but this passage from Rachmaninoff 3 is actually very easy. And the best part is, it fixes the #1 technical problem I see in every pianist I teach. And that issue comes from one place you'd never expect: your thumbs. Wait, my thumbs? Not my weak pinky finger or my lazy fourth finger? No, your thumbs. Look, I've been teaching piano for over a decade, helping pianists like you. I've worked with beginners, with more advanced pianists, and I've even coached professionals sometimes. And every time I teach a new student, one of the first things I do is look at their thumbs. And this is what I always say. If you record yourself playing a passage or a scale, you'll probably see that in your own hands too. And the reason you're doing that is because your thumb is not designed to push down. It's designed to grab stuff, like the rest of our fingers. So this is a movement that you have to learn and train. And the moment you do this, the balance of your hand is ruined, your other fingers will be working against your arm, you'll get tense, and your sound will be uneven and ugly. But the good thing is, this issue is natural, it's common, and it can be solved. And that's exactly what we're gonna do right now. Now the second question: how can this passage be easy, like I claimed at the beginning of the video? Look at this. If you play a simple F major pentatonic scale with your right hand thumb, and then you add the next black key on your index finger, and the next note from the pentatonic scale on the third finger, that's basically the pattern that takes your right hand from down here to up here. And on the left hand, you have again the F major pentatonic on the thumb, the closest black key on the index finger, and this time a minor third with the fourth finger below the index. That's it! You can learn the pattern in 5 minutes for each hand. And you still need to learn what I call the book covers. But it's just a few notes after all, and it shouldn't take long. The ironic thing with Rachmaninoff 3, and with his piano music in general, is that many parts that look insanely hard are actually way easier than others that are less memorable and less flashy. Rachmaninoff was a master of writing impressive stuff that fits our hand incredibly well. And this passage is no exception. It sounds virtuosic and impressive, but that's just an illusion. In reality, everything is much simpler. And now, the main question. How can this passage help me fix my dead thumbs? The short answer is, because it makes you use your thumbs in different ways. On your right hand, they are part of a quick legato line, and on the left hand, you have quick staccato notes that will make you develop a lot of finesse and sensitivity in the thumb. And now you're probably thinking, alright, this all sounds great, but how should I actually train my thumbs to play a nice legato and a nice staccato? How can I practice so that I can play at that speed without any strain, any tension, and make it look easy? And this is exactly what you're gonna discover right now. By the way, I wrote a step-by-step guide to learn and practice this passage in a 100% optimal and efficient way, based on my experience learning it and teaching it to my students. But I'll tell you more about that a bit later. So, before we start, remember the thumb wars we used to play as kids? That game is amazing for developing fine motor skills with our thumbs. And even playing video games with a controller is quite beneficial too. The point is to learn to move our thumbs independently from our wrists and from our arms. This, in thumb wars, is cheating. And playing video games like this is absurd, right? Anyway, both the thumb wars and the video game controllers can help us understand two basic movements that will help us play the piano with much more control and much more skill. Try those movements with me. One is this, and another one is this. Alright, so let's come back to the piano. What I want you to do now is draw an imaginary line in this direction with your thumb, all the way to the edge of the key. And for that, you're gonna use the two movements you just learned. No arm pushing, no wrist collapsing, just your thumb drawing that line. I want you to feel how you don't need to push the keys in any way. Just draw that line with your thumb. And immediately after you finish the movement, come back to the original position and relax your hand. That's it. That's how you move your thumbs when you play the piano. And now, an important note. When you draw that imaginary line, make sure you feel the bottom of the key, the point where the key cannot go lower. It's not enough to hear the note. You have to train your fingers to feel that bottom. It's very important. That's the only way to produce a good sound. It's the difference between this and this. And you can control the length of the note with the speed of the movement. So when you practice the right hand slowly, for example, you'll draw that line slowly so that your thumb's note can be connected with your index finger's note. But when you play faster, or when your left hand plays staccato, you'll need to move your thumb faster to create that shorter note. Just remember, fast or slow, short note, long note, it doesn't matter. You never push with your arm or with your wrist. And that's it. That's how you learn a Rachmaninoff 3 passage that is easy, that fixes your technique, and that is fun to play, sounds flashy, and that you can even use it as a cool party trick to impress your crush. And now a few final pro tips that will help you learn even more efficiently. The first one is to practice in chunks and memorize them at the same time you learn. So let's say you've already learned the whole pattern with your hands separate. Now you're gonna learn the front cover with hands together, and you drill it for a bit until you don't need to look at the score. Then you do the same with the first iteration of the pattern. And so on and so on. It sounds boring when I put it this way, but believe me, there's no faster way to learn anything on the piano. And it feels so good when you can finally play everything from the beginning to the end. The second tip is to record yourself a lot in video. When we see and listen to ourselves from a third-person view, we can discover many things we didn't know we were doing wrong. And that happens because when we're playing, our brain is focused on the doing and not so much on the listening. If you record yourself, you'll probably discover movements you shouldn't be doing, or notes you're keeping for too long, or some rushing or some dragging that you didn't know you were doing. And the third and final tip, if you're serious about learning this passage and fixing your thumbs forever, get a copy of the learning guide. You'll learn it in the most efficient way possible, you'll waste no time figuring out what to do next, and you'll get all the fingerings and a few extra tips and tricks. And the best part, it tells you when to record yourself, from what angle, and what to look for in those recordings, so that you always know that you're on the right path. And once you master this passage and your thumbs are awake and ready to play, here's an idea for taking your technique to the next level. You can learn the ending of Chopin's Concerto No. 1. So if you want to dive into the rabbit hole of awesome piano passages that can help you develop your technique, here's a video where we break down that final run in depth. Don't forget to subscribe on your way out, and see you in the next video.